go into our chanting. Nina, thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you, Jackie, for creating this space for us to be together. It's wonderful to see everybody's faces who want to practice and be in this space of satsang where we help each other by just communing in the name or the chanting of mantra. Some of you might be here for the first time. So I just thought I would just do a little bit of going over the pronunciation. And but before we do that, there's just something I'd like you to hear about the Gayatri mantra and just practice itself. Okay, what we're going to do today is called japa. Japa means it's called it's like a repetitive repetitive utterance of a mantra. Okay, so let me just read this to you. It's written in very Indian English, but I think we can all understand. The japa, meditative utterance of the Gayatri, is an integral part of the daily practice of the Hindus. He's talking about in India. This shows that Hindu sages attach the greatest importance to it, not only in the life of Hindus who were deeply religious and were seriously pursuing the ideal of spiritual emancipation or moksha, but also in the life of the average Hindu who was living the ordinary worldly life in the pursuit of so-called happiness. So I'll just rephrase everything by saying that the word Hindu here, in my opinion, and is actually the truth, is that there's nothing to join, there's nothing to change. You can still keep whatever your cultural, religious heritage, religion, whatever that is for you, that does not need to go away. Hindu simply, in my mind, here means one who is a seeker on the path of the Sanatana Dharma. Okay? So what they're saying here is that the Gayatri mantra is from the original Rig Veda, which is thousands of years old. And in the subsequent Vedas that followed, the Gayatri mantra recurs. And for anybody who's not even studying the Veda at all, it's a very big part of everyday practice in India for many people. And my understanding of that is that while we are also capable of repeating bad habits, the fact that this has sustained for all these years over the eons and people have benefited from it means a lot. And if you try it and you feel like it resonates for you, then you have something to attach yourself to that is working on your behalf. So just know that that's the meaning of the Gayatri mantra. It's basically to clarify our minds and open our hearts. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do with practice, all of us, whether we're listening to teachings, whether we're doing breath practice, whether we're doing yoga, any of the things. As it happens for me and for many of you on the call who I recognize, this practice of japa or mantra yoga, which is another name that's given to it, is a very big part of our lives. And, as we continue to explore different practices, we'll come across other mantras, different forms of mantra recitation, whether it's through singing, writing, which is likhita japa, that's another form of mantra meditation. As we pursue these, ultimately, we have to find the thing that we're going to do on a regular basis, because that's how we're going to deepen the well from which we will automatically draw that which is going to be beneficial for our own inner blossoming of wisdom. That's where this is going to come from. So this has become a regular part of my practice. It doesn't take very long. It's something that you can do even there's a very formal way of doing mantra practice in India, which is to wake up, take a shower, sit quietly, don't do anything else, don't look at your phone. I recommend that. I also recognize that is so hard to do, right? We have children, we have to go to work, we have people we have to take care of. We're working in different time zones. So many things happen. So at the very least, if you can just even wake up in the morning and before you open your eyes, try to think about entering into some kind of a meditative space, whatever that is for you, even if you take 3 breaths before you get out of bed, anything. And you might find that there's a little room in there for you to think mentally about whatever your mantra is, that is your practice. So Gayatri mantra is actually practiced first thing in the day to kind of set the stage for everything we're going to do and how we're going to be in our lives as we start our day. One of the things that they say in this book, and I'm just going to read this out because I find this very important to remember, is like, why are we doing practice? So what he's saying here is Gayatri Japa is integral part of daily practice for all Hindus, for all ages, from all backgrounds. Practice helps us to see and develop awareness of the background against which our human life can be seen. He says should be seen. I'd like to say can be seen because there's no shoulds here. But my understanding is because we're all here to do practice, this is what we're looking for. And so by helping to clarify our minds and open our hearts, we find a way in which to connect with all that's going on in our lives, which is the only way we're going to have any sense of peace, connection, less anxiety, less fear, the more we connect with others and the less separate we feel. Okay? Okay, so let's get to the mantra. Jackie, can you please screen share? Okay, so for those of you who've been on this session before and might have downloaded a sheet, please download this one, which is updated. And maybe when Jackie sends out the follow-up email, she'll actually add it as an attachment. So in this, what we've done is there's one slight correction in the transliteration, but we've also added in the Devanagari for any of you who actually read Devanagari or like to refer back to Devanagari while you're doing the studies. So again, for those of you who are new to this practice, Gayatri mantra is a mantra that's in the meter of Gayatri. In the Veda, there are important things to remember when you're reciting a mantra. Many of you might have heard the Gayatri mantra sung or recited a particular way in other places. What we're doing here is learning from and repeating the way in which it's been chanted in the Karnataka Mysore lineage and is the original way of doing Veda chanting. Somebody's saying the sound is soft. Is anybody having trouble hearing? No, okay. So Vinitha, maybe you have to raise your volume or something, not sure. So we're going to focus on a couple of things. We're going to focus on the rhythm, the chandas in which we're going to chant this. We're going to focus on the pronunciation of the actual letters and sounds with aspirations and retroflex sounds. And we're also going to focus on, most importantly, the notes in which we're going to be chanting this mantra. So let's try and do this together. I can't hear you, but do your best to listen to what's being chanted and try to emulate that to the best of your abilities, because this is the way in which the rishis who received the transmission from tremendous tapasya and sadhana were opened up into the wisdom world, the wisdom light, and the way in which they shared their understanding of this knowledge is through these sounds. So if we hear it in a particular way and we emulate it, then this oral transmission will continue in the way that it should. And our faith and confidence in this comes from the fact that we've received this teaching from a lineage that's been continuous. And it's been handed down in this way through serious Pandit scholars who've been practicing and sharing with their students in this way. I am not a Veda scholar. I just want to say that right up front. There are some things that I've learned and I'm continuing to learn with my teacher from Veda Studies, which is the name that you see there on the top of the sheet. Maybe you can remove that line there, Jackie, that might have come from your screen. So let's just try to do this practice together. And what we'll do is I'm going to go through the pronunciation and then we'll try to squeeze in here a recitation of 108 repetitions. And this will be available for you as a replay if you can't stay. Okay, so I'm going to start first with some invocation, and then we'll go through the pronunciation and the recitation. If you know the invocational prayers, some of you are in my classes with Shantala Sri Ramaya from Veda Studies. You can do it yourself too. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Ganana Antva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavin Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannutibhisida Sadhanam Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinam Vitriyavatu Ano Divo Brihataf Parvatada Saraswati Ajata Gantu Yagyam Havan Devi Jujushana Ghritachi Shagman No Vachamushati Shrinotu Vagdevyai Namaha Charanam Pavitram Vitatam Puranam Yena Putastarati Dushkritani Tena Pavitrena Shuddhena Putaha Atipapmanamaratintarema Shri Satguru Charana Ravinda Bhyan Namaha. So these invocations are to Ganesha or Ganapati and Goddess Saraswati, as well as to the Guru. And we're in advance asking for forgiveness for any mistakes we might make in our offering to divinity, which dwells within our own hearts itself. I'm going to recite the mantra 3 times and then just say what the English interpretation of this is. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. Let us bring our minds to rest in the glory of the divine truth. May truth inspire our reflection. Let us bring our minds to rest in the glory of the divine truth. May truth inspire our reflection. So truth here is reality with a capital R. And we're finding our way to that space through our practices and with the help of these powerful mantras, these sounds. So just to give you an idea of what the words mean, it really is a poem, so it's not easy to translate it as a sentence, but that was the interpretation that we received from Jean Lemay, who's a Veda scholar and quoted many times for this interpretation of the mantra. But just to go word for word, Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. So Bhur Bhuvassuvaha is three little syllables there. Bhu means earth. Bhuvaha means above earth. Suvaha is heavenly realm. So the three lokas. Tat is that. Savitur is refers to the form of the deity of Surya, the sun, but in the form of the rising sun, Savitra. Varenyam is the one to be worshipped. So we're invoking the rising sun, that is the rising sun within ourselves that will illuminate our lives. That's the idea. Bhargo comes from Bhargaha, which means radiance. Devasya, Dev comes from divine, actually, or divine comes from Dev, Devasya. Dhimahi, I meditate upon. Dhiyo comes from Dhiyaha, which is intellect. Yaha comes from the one who. Yo comes from Yaha. Naha is us. Prachodayat, that which impels or inspires. Okay, so we'll go through now the way in which these words are pronounced, just quickly, because many of you have done this before, and then we can actually get to the recitation. So the first line, I'm just going to read through it, and you can notice certain things in the transliteration, which you can refer back to in the actual color-coded transliteration, which you see at the bottom of the page. Okay, so Om, we all know. Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Let's look at this word for a second. Notice the BH together, which means an aspirated sound. It's color-coded as red below. So you want to make it bhur. Okay, so when you do bhur, it's different from bhur, right? Bhur, you can actually feel a little push in your upper abdomen. Bhur. Think about that. Bhur. Bhu again. So two aspirated sounds. The horizontal line across the first syllable, bhur, means that it's a long u. The second u is shorter u because there's no line across the top. In the third syllable, notice the horizontal line at the bottom of the A. So what does this mean? This actually doesn't have to do with the pronunciation of the letter, but it has to do with the note. Essentially, we have three notes that we're going to be using to chant this mantra. The middle note is where we start, which is different for each one of us, but you're going to follow me today. So for me, I'll be starting with Om. Okay, so that's my middle note. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. So we're going down on that third syllable to the lower note. Su comes back up to the middle because there's no notation there. Vaha, so we go up because of the vertical line over the A in the last syllable. And because the H has the dot below it, we have a short at the end. So just listen. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. One other thing I'll point out to you. Do you see the double S there? Think about that as a way in which to land on that syllable. Put a little emphasis on the sa. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. right? It's like a nice place to land there. So let's do this together. I'll chant it 3 times. Listen to me the first time and chant it with me the second 2 times. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Okay. Second line. Tat Saviturvarenyam. I'm going to do this 3 times and explain. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Okay. Few things about this line. Notice the T is different from tea as in tea that we drink. It's tea with a dental sound. You put your tongue between your teeth. Tat. Try that. Tat. Okay. This is the case for another consonant, which is D, which comes in the next line. But also in the second, where we carry this through for all the T sounds that you will find in all the mantras. Okay. So tat savitur, right? No, tat savitur. There's again the dental T. And then, so tat is on the middle note. Savitur, high, middle, high, low, middle. Tat savitur, high, low, middle. Varenyam. So this is an interesting new thing. First syllable is var, we're on the middle note. Varenyam. So the second syllable has 2 vertical lines on the top. So what happens here is that vowel is broken up into 2 notes. So we go from vare, middle, ed, high note, and come back down to the next, whatever the next one is going to be. It's I'm just explaining it to you this way, but when you hear it, you'll get it, okay? Also notice the N with the dot below it. If you can focus on this a little bit, the N here is different from the N, like say in my name, which is Nina. It's a retroflex N where you curl your tongue behind your teeth. Varenyam, ernam, varenyam. Okay, you can try that. If you want to just focus on one thing today, focus on the notes. That's the most important thing right now, or swara as it's called. And yam has the horizontal line under the A, which means we're going down to the low note. I'll say it one more time. Tat savitur varenyam. Okay, let's try that together. 3 times. I'll say it once, you repeat twice. Tat savitur varenyam. Tat savitur varenyam. Tat savitur varenyam. Next line. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Okay. Again, straightforward, because you know bhargo means an aspirated sound in the beginning, BH, right? Bhargo, middle, high. Devasya, low, middle, high. You see the notation, right? Dhimahi, all middle note. Try to remember to do the aspirated sound as much as you can. Let's do this together. I'll say it once, you repeat twice. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Last line. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. So let me go through this for just a second. Dhiyo, that's quite straightforward, right? Middle, low, yo, middle note. Then, naha, you see here, it goes up to the high note. But notice that I'm saying naf. like an F sound. You can see that in the green box in the transliteration at the bottom there. What happens grammatically in this recitation is that because Naha is followed by P from Prachodayat, when you combine those sounds, the Naha becomes Naf. And you'll see that it actually helps you go straight into P when your lips are already in that position. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Okay. Last word, when you see the letter C in the English transliteration here, it's always ch sound. Okay. If we're making a k sound, the letter would be a K. So C here is always, we don't put an H in there. It's just C. Pracho, middle, low. Daya, ata, middle, short A. Ya, ata, so that goes middle and high together because it's a long A, the horizontal line across the top with the two vertical lines above it. Just listen to me 3 times and then we'll do one more recitation. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. So do this with me. I'll say it once, you repeat twice. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. Dhiyo yo naf prachodaya ata. Okay, let's run through this once together in a practice mode. So I'll do each line 3 times. You repeat the second 2 times, and then we'll go straight into the recitation together. And everybody's going to do the best they can. Okay. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. For my Veda colleagues who are here, let's try to remember in the second line, Tat Savitur. We want to combine that T and the S, and if all of you can hear that, it's Tat Savit, like I go directly from the T to the Sa sound. You'll just hear it and might be able to repeat that. It's a more subtle part of the translation. Okay, let's start with one long Om together. And if you have a mala, you're welcome to count on it. And we're going to do this 108 times. And Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvassuvaha. तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Thank you, everyone, for joining in the practice. Jackie, if we have like a couple of minutes, can we take some questions and others can go if they need?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for that. And I also want people to check out the chat before they leave because your newsletter and your event links are there. So if you want to do more with Nina than once a month, make sure you check those out. But yes, if you need to leave, go ahead. But if you want to stick around for a few minutes for Q&A, that's great. You can just raise your virtual hand if you know how to do that. There's many of you here, so I'm not sure if you raise your hand like this, I'd be able to see you, but you can try if you don't know how to raise your virtual hand.
Oh, Zia, I see yeah, I was reading that about the hurricane. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah.
In New Orleans. Yes, see you in Joshua Tree, whoever's coming to Bhakti Fest at the end of the month. Somebody's asking, is there a book? Wait, I saw this up here. Where is it?
Yeah, and someone put a link to your chants.
Good. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Is there a guidebook to the words or a sheet? Yeah. So Michael, the link is there underneath your note. And also Jackie will send you the PDF in the follow-up email. Okay, so this is a really good question from Todd. Do you breathe through your nose or mouth? So as you can tell, the way in which we chant it, we're sticking with a particular meter, right? So you have to figure out where you're taking your breath. I have to say that I end up breathing a lot through my mouth. I do that even when I sing, because it is just easier to sip in a breath quickly from the mouth. So do whichever way works for you in order to stay with the rhythm. And sometimes you might have to break it up until you develop the prana shakti, the ability to actually do that kind of breathing. And that's okay while you're practicing, with the goal being to try to do it. Okay, so Cameron is saying here, always breath through the mouth. There you go. This is a classical vocalist, so they probably know much more than I do. But that's what I do when I'm chanting, when I'm singing, and also for Gayatri practice, for sure. I see Nick has raised his hand. Let me see if I can. Can you do this, Jackie? So that Nick can ask the question.
Oh, yeah, of course. Go ahead, Nick.
Maybe Nick is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Hi, Nick.
Hi, I had a question about when you changed the key, when you raised all the pitches.
Yeah, it was just to alert everybody that we were ending. That's the only reason. No big deal. And okay, so some of the other questions are interesting challenge, right? Yeah, mindful breathing. How many times do we need to chant it if doing by ourselves? So if anybody was using a mala, can you actually tell me how many times we did it? Because I dropped my mala. So I had to guess where I was. So if anybody actually counted it out properly, please tell me. But generally speaking, Jenny's saying we're about 5 short. Okay, so all of you, when we get off this call, please go and do the extras if you want. Okay, so everybody's doing different numbers. You see what happens? Even with the mala, it's so hard to keep attention, right? Dvora says she has 3 beads left. Okay, so many people are saying 105. So we'll do another 3 ourselves later. This is how we are, what to do. Yeah, I would recommend doing, 108, just because if you want to stay with something steady, you've got the mala, it's easy to stay with it. But sometimes we're already it took a long time, it took 35 minutes, right? So just do 3, do 7, do 9, do 11. Do what, if you have a wrist mala from Ram Dass's retreats, there are like 27 beads on there, try that. Yeah, somebody's asking if I'm going to do the Gayatri mantra at Bhakti Fest. I don't have a plan to do that, but if you're coming, I want to share in one of the morning sessions in what the morning sessions, a Gayatri mantra to Mother Earth, which is called the Bhu Gayatri mantra. So we'll be chanting it a little differently, but with the same rhythm.
Let's ask Deborah.
So actually, Kachi, I think, or I can't, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but what you've put in here is not correct. So don't use that. It's not Purgo Devasya. It's wrong. It's Bhargo. Okay, so try to use the transliteration on the sheet as much as you can. There's a lot of instruction in there. And this is actually not correct. Okay. So what else is happening here? I think that's it. How many breaths per rep?
Deborah has her hand up, so I want to give her.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deborah. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, thank you, Nina and Jackie and all for being here. I've been chanting both this and the Hanuman Chalisa.
Mhm.
And if I'm going to do this in the morning for the full 105 times, how do you
108, hopefully.
108? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you, what's the order of doing those? Like, do I do the Hanuman at different time in the day, or does it matter?
Actually, it doesn't matter for either of them. Customarily, you do the Gayatri mantra first before any other practice. But, I like to say that whatever you can do, whenever you can do it, just do it, because it's very hard to, create a regular practice for yourself. So whatever works for you, just do your best. Okay. Okay, I see somebody saying, Nick is saying, do them as they water the plants. Like when you're cooking, when you're preparing food, you infuse the food with blessings and it becomes prasad for everybody. It's just such a great way to keep your mind while you're, Casey or Kachi, sorry, I understand what you're saying here, but even the way in which you've put it in the note is not correct. Okay, I just want to make that clear, because Purgo day is wrong. It's Bhargo. It's a different word altogether. So yeah, it's better to not share that. I just want to say that. So we're trying to do something one way. Okay. Roni, makes no difference. We are usurping another culture and we can find our own way to the divine. Okay, if you want to look at it that way. I think we're sharing in the practices that the saints have brought over here, and they've shared it with us, and we're doing our best to continue with the practice, starting with, Sri Vivekananda from 1896, all the Tibetan lamas that come here, all the Indian teachers. So usurping implies that we're taking it away from something that we're not. So we're just sharing in it. We're expanding the ability to do practice together for the benefit of ourselves and all beings. Tony, is there a benefit to chanting in a group? Yes. And definitely some of you have chanted with me in a group. We've done Gayatri mantra in a group, and actually miss hearing your voices because I can't hear you and you can't hear others. But just like any of you who might have come to Kirtan, or even if you meditate quietly in a group, or you do asana practice in a group, don't you feel like you receive some energy from the rest of the people? Yeah. So I would say there's definitely a benefit, but it shouldn't stop you from doing it by yourself, because individual practice is very important too. Okay, good. Let me see some other things here. Do you think this will help with grief? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't tell you how, but I know that it will. I got dizzy, never happened while chanting before. Is it okay to chant silently and still count as 108 repetitions? So Rowan, that can happen because of the intense breath practice we're doing. If any of you have done like pranayam, where you're doing like kapalbhati and stuff like that, you start to feel dizzy. Definitely take it easy. Some people have high blood pressure and things like that. So just be aware of that. Maybe don't do it 108 times, chant it out loud 3 times, and then just do the rest silently if you prefer. Do what's good for you. Okay, definitely do what's working for you. Okay, so let's see. Vinata, thank you. Deborah, all of you. How does this mantra relate to the sun? So in the early part, when I went through the words, Savitra is the aspect of Surya, which is the sun, which is the rising sun, which is why we do this also in the morning to physically align with that cosmic force and also our waking state. And illuminating from within is the idea. So that's how it relates to the sun. Very energizing. Yeah, exactly. So maybe you don't want to do it before you go to sleep. There's other ones for that. If you don't feel well, can you chant laying down? Yes, definitely. Just try to, as much as possible, like keep your spine straight. So like I was chanting standing up, only because I need to stand more than sit for most of the day. So I stand up, but I'm standing very straight. If you're sitting, try to keep your spine straight as well. And if you're lying down, especially like sometimes when you're waking from your sleep and you want to do the practice, maybe try to realign yourself and try to keep your spine straight as much as possible rather than your head being like this and so forth. Yeah, the most important thing is trying to let that energy flow through all the channels. And definitely when you're lying down, always feel free to chant lying down. And, it's a good thing. I always start rocking back and forth. I wish I can sit still. Yes, keep wishing. You can do it if you want to. All right, people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You can also write me questions, by the way, through my website, ninaraochant.com, if there's any such thing that I can do that's helpful for you.
All right. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in about 2 weeks for our just straight meditation practice, and then we'll do this again in about a month. So lots of love. Be well. Rum rum.